Welcome back, everybody. I know why you clicked on this video. You saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, and you're like, crap, my favorite set just got nerfed. And it probably did, but all the sets kind of got nerfed, especially the defensive ones. This is a video that is going to go over all of the set changes for the upcoming patch. Man, in Greymoor, there are a lot of changes, and in short, ZeniMax is really hitting the tank meta. Like, they are making it really tough to be bulky in this patch. I think it's a good thing because it's way too easy to be bulky right now. Let's see how things go when this hits the live server, and as always, I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Let's get started. Starting off with Balorg, it now grants weapon and spell damage equal to the amount of ultimate spent. Rather than double the amount spent, it also grants the physical spell penetration equal to 23 times the amount of ultimate spent. Very interesting. So if you spend 100 ultimate, you get 100 weapon and spell damage, and then 2,300 penetration. Damage-wise, I think Balorg will honestly be stronger, but healing-wise, it will not. I do kind of like this change. And then finally, Bloodspawn. This is a huge one. Reduce the armor granted to 3,300 from 6,450. Reduce the ultimate on proc to 8, down from 14. And they reduce the cooldown to 5 seconds, down from 6. Yep, it's happened. Bloodspawn has finally taken a huge nerf. Honestly, guys, for a very long time, Bloodspawn has been a really good set. So good that it has been very hard and to kind of justify running a different set. I like this change. I think that Bloodspawn needed a nerf. Was this too much? I don't know. It has been a very long time that Bloodspawn has been incredibly bis for a huge variety of builds. So I'm ready for it to take the nerf. I'm also ready to see what people will do. Will they keep running Bloodspawn for certain builds, or will we see other Helm sets start to creep in as well? There we go. Now the next set that we've got is Chokethorn. It now heals for 25k over 6 seconds instead of the 20k over 4, and they increase the proc chance and reduce the range of the beam. Dama House has got some big changes too. It now grants the 300 weapon or spell damage when you're standing in the ring rather than 200, and the outer ring now deals 1380 damage as well. So yeah, just a little bit of a buff to it. Honestly, Dama House for PvP, not the most attractive set, but it's starting to look a little bit better. Earthgore will now heal for 30k health over 10 seconds rather than over 6 seconds to reduce the burst heal potential, but now it has a much lower cooldown. So this one for PvP will be interesting. The 20-second cooldown on Earthgore could present you with some situations where you have builds that are very impossible to kill. We'll see how it goes, because that is an incredibly strong heal over 10 seconds. On a 20-second cooldown. Honestly, how Earthgore functions has just changed a lot. Troll King, we're going to look at too. That took quite a bit of a nerf. This could be your new option for Troll King. And then finally, we've got Engine Guardian, and this guy has been nerfed big time. It now restores 550 Magicka or Stamina per tick rather than 1204. Wow. The healing has been increased, though, up to 1955. That is not the tether that people wanted from Engine Guardian for the most part, though. They reduced the range of the beam to 15 meters. I'm not sure if this means you will be able to LOS your own Engine Guardian a lot easier now. And then they've had a couple fixes as well. But yeah, Engine Guardian taking a big hit. I like this change, too. The amount of sustain that this gives, again, made it kind of an incredibly good set for... It was a lot less kind of common than some of the other ones, but Engine Guardian is disproportionately powerful. So yeah, big change to that one there. Grunwolf has also had a change as well. The resource restore has been reduced to 700 and 350, down from where it was before. Elambris has also had some changes. Increase the proc chance to 33%, increase the damage done for each meteor up to 2,000, so almost doubling the damage. So yeah, Elambris is looking a lot better than it used to be. Infernal Guardian, they decreased the damage done for each mortar to 4.4k. Krogs had a very slight buff, about 5% increase in damage. Lord Warden reduced the armor bonus of the One Piece set to 1487, down from 2,975, and they decreased the armor proc bonus to 3,180. Wow. So the two-piece change, not really huge, but that one piece being changed to 1487 armor instead of the 2,975. This is huge. There is a very common thing that people do right now where they run the One Piece Lord Warden with other One Piece like Mighty Chuden, etc. to stack that 6k armor from those two separate One Pieces in the Helm's Shoulder. Now this will just no longer be possible, and I like this because if you think about the amount of stat that old armor used to give, it made it very hard to justify picking any other One Piece if that's the route you want to go. Did they nerf it too much? That's always the question. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Marcel Rock reduced the damage on it by just a bit as well. Maw of the Infernal, they have streamlined it a little bit, so the Daedroth will always use a succession of attacks instead of random order of it, so that's kind of nice. And they increased the proc chance on it to 33% as well. They changed the One Piece bonus to max magicka instead of max health. That's nice, man. You can no longer target the Daedroth either. That's a really big change, too, because they used to use this set in PvP, especially for body blocking. It was quite good on something like a Pet Sork that already had pets for body blocking. So, yeah, big change to that one there. Mighty Chuden got the work on the One Piece as well. Molag Kenna increased the weapon spell damage to 560 up from 516. Molag Kenna looking more and more attractive as they keep reworking it. Mother Sienna increased the magicka granted by this set to 822 up from 600. Big buff there. Niranith, they increased the damage to 9,000, so a little bit of a damage increase. They increased the proc chance as well, and the One Piece is now spell damage. So Niranith looking a little bit more attractive for mag builds, more for a PvE build, I think. And then Nightflame Bogdan, they've got the decreased healing on the ticks just by a little bit, but we have an increased proc chance up to 20%. Pirate Skeleton got the work on the One Piece as well. They decreased the cooldown to 15 seconds from 20, and they increased the proc chance on it to 10% as well. The Scourge Harvester or Malabith set has had a decrease in its heal over time by just a slight amount, but again, a proc chance increase. Selene had a slight damage increase up to 13,364. Celestrix, they increased the damage of this set as well by just a little amount. It no longer has a proc chance, but has a 6-second cooldown. The Sentinel of Rakugamiz, they reduced the tick count of the heal and resource restore by 1, but they increased the amount that each tick restores. This should be, I think, a net decrease in healing, or just about the same. I'd have to look at the original set. And then finally, we've got Shadowrend. No longer applies minor maim, but instead reduces their damage done by 5% for 2 seconds. And this cannot stack from multiple sources, so it is its own kind of separate Clan Fear debuff. Significantly reduced and streamlined the damage of the Clan Fear's attack to 800 per hit. Yeah, and they're no longer at random, so they're going to be like consistent attacks. But that's a big, big damage cut to the Clan Fear, and they reduced the cast time of the Tail Swipe attack as well. Big change to the Shadowrend set. This set, in my opinion, was one of, if not the best set for dueling if you didn't have minor maim on your build. So there's a very big change to this set here. And then we've got the Spawn of Mephala, increased the damage per tick of this set to 1340 up from 1096. Stonekeeper, they reduced the health, magicka, stamina restore just by a lot, by like half. But they reduced the cooldown stacker to 250 milliseconds, down from 1 second. And then Stormfist, they increased the explosion damage of the shock at the end to 8,470, and it now ignores spell resistance. That's actually very attractive for a stam build, making this much more attractive than it used to be because, well, the Stormfist will hit significantly harder if it ignores resistance. And then finally, Swarm Mother, they changed the One Piece bonus of this set to max mag and max stam instead of 129 stam recovery. I really like that. Now we got Dama House Swarm Mother if you want to stack the max mag, max stam 2 pieces or single 1 pieces. And then we've got the Symphony of Blades. It now restores 570 resource per tick, down from 2,325. And the 18-second cooldown is now per target rather than overall. So this is a support set that you give to other players. It was very, very strong before. The way they've changed it here, it's not as strong for sure, but you can now use it on a bunch of people. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Thorvikin has had a change as well. They reduced the damage per tick to 100, down from 430, and they increased the cooldown to 16 seconds, up from 8 seconds. RIP this set. Tremor Scale has had a slight buff as well, but the increased cooldown is going to end up being a net nerf for this set overall. Enemies hit by this now have their physical resistance reduced by 2,400 for 8 seconds rather than being snared. That's actually a really nice debuff. So yeah, maybe not a nerf for this set overall. Kind of just a lot of changes to it. Troll King, big changes here. It now grants you only 925 health recovery instead of 1548. So this has been nerfed by about 33%. Yeah, man. That is a lot for Troll King. It's a very, very good, very, very popular set, just like Bloodspawn. ZeniMax really taken an axe to the tank meta this patch. I can't say that I'm upset. I like this a lot. Valken Scoria, the One Piece, now grants 1487 spell pen rather than max health. They decrease the splash damage of the meteor to 3535 as well. This is going to be a big buff for Scoria overall. The spell pen on the One Piece is huge for this set. It's going to be a nice damage increase for everything, including the set itself. The splash on the meteor, this is the AoE portion, not the single target portion. And then Veladrith, they increase the damage to 10,752 per spore, so a little bit of a buff to that one, reduced to the cooldown as well. So yep. And then Zon, the initial damage bonus has been decreased to 2k, down from 3.4k. They increased the damage scaling bonus to 100% per stack, up from 50%. They increased the duration to 6 seconds, up from 5, and increased the proc chance. Zon will be not as strong initially, but I think if you leave the Zon on you, it will be better than it is on the live patch right now. So make sure you purge those Zons or break the LOS from the Zon player if they proc it on you. And then we have got some changes to the arena weapons, and this includes the addition of Perfected Maelstrom and Perfected Master Weapons as well. So the Asylum Sanctorum Chaotic Whirlwind, when you cast Whirlwind, you now envelop yourself in a whirlwind for 6 seconds, which strikes out and damages 3 random enemies every second, dealing 2,675 physical damage with a 10-second cooldown. The Perfected version will now give you 666 additional weapon critical. The Concentrated Force Destruction Staff from Asylum, the Perfected version, will now give you 103 spell damage instead of a unique value. The Asylum Sword and Board, they increase the base restore to 2,200 magicka and the maximum restore to 6,600 magicka. The Perfected version will now grant you 877 magicka as well. The Discipline / Two-Hand Sword, they reduce the maximum amount of ultimate returned to 12%, down from 15%. And the Perfected version will now grant you 877 maximum stamina. The Piercing Spray Asylum Bow now reduces the physical resistance of your opponents hit by your arrow spray by 6,600. Really nice. And then the Perfected version will give you 1,200 physical penetration. Really nice as well. Timeless Blessing, the Restoration Staff, they reduce the cost reduction of this set to 21%, down from 27%. And the Perfected version will now give you 877 maximum magicka. The Black Rose Prison Mender's Ward, they reduce the major vitality to 2 seconds, down from 3, but you now get 100 magicka recovery on the Perfected version. The Radial Uppercut will now deal 45% of the damage dealt with Uppercut to all nearby targets rather than 100% to one nearby target. The Perfected version gets the penetration on the 2H. Really nice stuff for a 2H. And then the Spectral Cloak now, instead of giving you major protection, increases your damage done and reduces your damage taken by 10% for 2 seconds when you deal damage with Blade Cloak. Very big change there, and then you get 103 stamina recovery on the Perfected version. This is very interesting, though, the damage increase, the damage reduction. Now, this will stack with other sources of major protection, but major protection is a very rare buff, and this was the big source of it in the game, was this dual-wield set, which now no longer grants it. I like this change a lot. I like that there's the damage increase as well. We'll have to see how it plays out. Virulent Shot, they increase the damage this set does to 65% of the damage done of your scatter shot, up from 60%. And they reduce the Perfected version's weapon crit to 666. And then finally, Wild Impulse, the Destruction Staff. They increase the damage done by this set to 3,965 per elemental tick. And they reduce the spell pen on the Perfected to just shy of 1,200. Now, Dragonstar Arena, this has gotten a Perfected version as well, like all of the VDSA and Maelstrom weapons. And they've been buffed too, so the set now grants 330 weapon damage against targets instead of 300. The Destructive Impact Maelstrom Staff will now grant 600 spell damage for 4 seconds after casting Destructive Touch. They reduce the cost granted towards destructive touch by 10%, and the perfected version will now give spell damage. Grand Rejuvenation will now give you 117 magicka or stamina to the affected target, up from 100. The perfected version now gives max magicka. Puncturing Remedy, they increase the healing done to 6k. Big buff there, almost 3 times more healing. They increase the duration of the armor bonus to 5 seconds as well. And the perfected version will now give you a 3% healing taken. Big buff to this set there. The Stinging Slashes, this now increases any instance of damage done with Twin Slashes by 2,102 rather than the 1,600. And the perfected version now gives 666 weapon crit. Nice big buff to this set, which is a very good set already. And then Titanic Cleave, they also increase the damage bonus just by a little bit to 1550. And they increase the target cap to 24. That's what I'm talking about. And the perfected version will now give physical penetration, so a nice buff to this set here. The big thing, of course, is that people will have a much easier time getting non-perfected versions of these weapons, which is absolutely massive. Finally, we got Maelstrom Arena, Cruel Flurry. Increase the weapon spell damage granted to 1690, up from 1000, and the perfected version will give 103 weapon damage. Big buff to that set. Crushing Wall, increase the damage bonus just by a little bit, and penetration on the perfected, really nice again. Merciless Charge, this one is massive. They increase the damage on the bleed by quite a bit, 30% increased damage, and of course, the perfected version gains physical penetration. This is a very good two-hand sword now. Oh my gosh. And then Precise Regeneration, they decreased the magicka granted from this set to 500 down from 800, but they removed the cooldown from this set. Very nice stuff. And the perfected version has 666 spell critical rating. Overall, I don't think this is a buff or a nerf to the set. I'll have to do some testing to really determine. And then finally, Rampaging Slash, decrease the magicka stamina restore in this set to 1904. So a little bit of a change there. The perfected version will now grant magicka and stamina recovery. Very interesting. And finally, the last set we've got is Thunderous Volley. It now increases the damage of your volley by 430, increasing by 143 per tick, up from 320. So a nice big buff there. However, it now stacks to a maximum of 8 times rather than continuously stacking. And the perfected version will grant weapon critical. Nice stuff. And now we're going to get onto the existing sets that have been changed. There are some massive changes here, guys. Let's get right into it. The Aegis of Galenway will now grant Empower to 11 allies rather than 3, and there is no longer a 50% chance to proc, but instead a 2-second cooldown up from 1. Amber Plasm now grants all 3 recoveries, and they've been boosted to 276 each. Wow, Amber Plasm, new magicka meta. That's all I can say. That is going to be definitely a BIS set for me. Archmage, this set now increases your mag recovery by 360 for 10 seconds after dealing damage with a fully charged heavy, rather than granting you the magicka when you land a fully charged heavy attack. Ashen Grip now deals damage in the same size that Fiery Breath does, resulting in twice the arc and reach than it previously did. Ashen Grip just getting buffed and buffed and buffed. Draugr's Rest got a huge buff to a 19k heal over its duration, up from 11k. Elfbane no longer works with channeled effects or beams. Rip Zon Elfbane combo. Ember Shield has had its armor granted reduced down to 3,300, and they decreased the damage per tick to 860 as well. The Grace of Gloom has had an increase in duration to 10 seconds from 5. They increased the cooldown as well to make it more of a situational set. Impregnable Armor has been nerfed down to 1,650 crit resist, down from 2k. A huge change there. Kvatch Gladiator now gives you weapon damage against targets under 25% health rather than increasing your light and heavy attack weapon damage. This makes the set a lot more appealing. To be honest, it was really bad before. Orgnum Scale has also been changed to increase your health recovery by 800 and your armor by 6,400 while at or below 60% health, rather than increasing the health recovery by 50% while below 60% health. This is a very huge change to Orgnum Scales. Honestly, this makes the set better or worse for some builds, probably better for most builds. Yeah, very attractive. Queen's Elegance. This now causes your light attacks to reduce the health, magicka, or stamina cost of your next ability by 10%, and your fully charged heavies to increase the damage of your next direct damage attack by 2,610. Honestly, kind of a nerf to this set, damage-wise, big time. However, 10% damage cost reduction when you're light attack weaving. That makes Queen's Elegance a very good sustain set now. Reactive Armor reduces the damage you take by 33% for 5 seconds after being hit by the disabling effect with a 20-second cooldown rather than giving you the 35% damage reduction when you're disabled. So really changing how this armor works, not making it so that you just sit on the ground, but instead giving you that damage reduction. Honestly, reactive is not as good now, I think. It's changed how it works a lot. And then we've got Robes of the Hist. They've slightly redesigned this set to apply a heal over time that heals for the original value every second for 5 seconds after being hit by a disabling effect, rather than healing once every second while under the effects. I like this change. Again, this will proc a lot more often and make this set likely more viable than when you're just standing in snares in PvP. Transmutation took a nerf. It is now 1400 crit resist for 5 seconds rather than 1304 for 20 seconds. I know the value's a little higher, but I said a nerf because it's only for 5 seconds. So you'll have to work a lot harder to keep your transmutation buff up. Sergeant's Mail, they increased the damage bonus for the fully charged heavy to 2257. And then finally, Vampire Lord has had some big changes to just change how it interacts with the new vampire abilities, I guess. So it will increase the bonuses and penalties that you get when you go further in your vampire stages. So yeah, it just amplifies your vampire strength and weaknesses by varying percentages. And then finally, Winterborn had a fix. Very good. Alright guys, so there it is, all of the changes to the sets, and ZeniMax, yeah, like I said, pretty much changed all of the big sets people like to use, especially for PvP. So there will be a lot of buildcraft change next patch, I think, for everyone. Whether that's good or bad or not is up to you guys. I would love to hear what you guys have to think about these changes. I personally think, man, tanks are going to have a rough time. I like this. The tank meta looks like it's going to be torn down in this coming patch, so we'll see how it goes. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. As always, we feature the top 5 PvP battles on my channel, so if you guys want to send in your clips or send in a build to be featured on the channel, you can send that to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. If you guys are interested in keeping up to date with my shenanigans, you can always give me a follow on Twitter. Give me a follow on Twitch if you guys want to see some live gameplay from me. Check out my website, KristoferESO.com, for written guides for my builds, as well as a hub for all of my ESO content. We're sponsored by What the Fast. They're a VPN for gamers that can give you better ping to your favorite games, and they're free to try for the first 30 days via the link in the description below. So give them a shot if you guys want. And then finally, if you guys really love the show and you want to help support it, you can always become a patron on Patreon. A big thank you to all my patrons. Without you guys, I couldn't do this job. And of course, a big thank you to everybody just for tuning in and watching. If you guys missed my overview of all of the new sets coming with this patch, as well as the combat changes, you can check that out in the description below. And finally, I'm going to be jumping on that PTS to give the vampire changes a shot. So I'll let you guys know how that goes in about a day or two. Look forward to that. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a great night, everyone. See you next time.